Welcome to my workshop. I'm Tina, and this is our monthly Wonderland Yarns subscription box. It came in the mail. It came a little while ago. They were having some issues with the knit pattern, I guess, so it took a little while to get that one. But I do completely recommend that if you are working this along with me or along with them, that you watch this video. So this is a monthly subscription put out by Wonderland Yarns. I will have links down below. I am affiliated with them. I do pay for my main subscription. They send me another skein of yarn so that I can work both blocks for you. So every month you get a new pattern and you can do the knit or the crochet, or in my case I'm doing both. And by the end of the year complete a full blanket. So this is their tour of the season. So very elegant colors and things like that. And they've been referencing different books and stuff. And so every month you get a skein of yarn. You choose your base. I am using the Mad Hatter blend. And you get stitch markers, a little progress keeper note card, and then the pattern. So this month, this is, trying to tuck the little ties in so you don't have as much of that showing because that tie is white. So this is this month's. Really pretty blue. And this says it is Thrushcross Grange. So the Mad Hatter blend is a sport weight, and it has 344 yards, 4 ounces of 100% superwash merino. It is a very soft and beautiful yarn. And if you are just coming in, if this is your first Wonderland Yarns video, here are our beautiful colors from months past. So, nope, I'm pulling on my microphone. So here's some pretty, these are 2 different months, the pretty purplies. Here's a couple of the other blue months. These are 2 of my favorites. This was April and I think May. Love those ones. And then there's another light blue I don't have right here that was from the first month. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. I feel like I'm missing another color here. That's that one. That one is that one. Okay. Anyway, these are some of the past colors. So now this beautiful blue is getting added to the mix, and it is going to make a gorgeous blanket by the end of the year. And then our stitch markers for this month. And I love their stitch markers. They make beautiful stitch markers. So here's our stitch markers for this month. And let's see what the book says. Wuthering Heights. So this one is Wuthering Heights. And here's our little work in progress card. Please join, and the work in progress cards are always some sort of invitation, and then the back has where you can fill in your progress. Please join the families of Mr. Edgar Linton of Thrushcross Grange, Yorkshire, and Miss Catherine Earnshaw of Wuthering Heights, Yorkshire, in celebrating their engagement. So that is the beautiful card for this month. And then on your label, they put the link for your different patterns. So let's jump right in, because I have a few things about this month pattern. Good, bad, all of the above. I guess we'll start with the knit pattern because I have that one on top. So here is our printout for it, and Thrush Cross Crisscross by Beck Lasky. That's the pattern name and author. This month's square is inspired by the Linton's estate in Wuthering Heights. Much like the winding paths and stately architecture of Thrushcross Grange, the cables in the square criss and cross, creating intricate interlacing designs that evoke a sense of timeless elegance. I will say it is a very beautiful square, but I will also say this was the most challenging square so far this year. Not just challenging, but time consuming. It took a lot of time to do this one square. There is a lot of purl stitches, and with most all of our squares, we've had our increases have been knit into the front and back, and this one is purl into the front and back. So that one was a little challenging for me to get a hang of at first. And as usual with the knit ones, they have the written instructions, but they also have the graph. And I like the written instructions. I find that easier. However, there's a lot in this, and there's the different terms and stuff. So we have 4 different types of cable. And our cable abbreviations are 11LPC, 11RPC, 22LC, and 22RC. And to people who do cables all the time, that may be completely understandable to you. I have done cables one other time, and I have yet to finish said cable project. I have started this. If you watch my channel, you will know I have been working on this one for my son. I started it months ago, and that is how far. I do actually have a Wonderland yarn stitch marker on it, but that's how far I have gotten. So my only foray into cables has been that. And I start looking at these abbreviations, and it's not computing in my head. So I kept having to go back and look at what each one of these said, which was on a different page from the page that my instructions were on. So I ended up making myself a note up here, a very abbreviated note as to what each one of those meant. So I put the abbreviation, and then I put F or B for front or back, so I was dropping the cable stitched to the front or back, and then I put PK, KP, KK, or KK. For it was you took those 2 stitches and you purled, then knit, or you knit, then purl, though on the 2 was 2 stitches, and those were always knit both ways. So that helped. So every time I'm going down this row of this lengthy set of repeats, I could look over at that. But I'm constantly looking over, and a lot of times after I've done the first row, I can do my other 3 rows and I'll remember what my repeat is. Not so on this one. And so I kept looking back over there, looking back over there. I took a Post-it note and used that as I worked so that I could see where I was at. That helped. I finally decided when I got all the way down to like the last 2 rows that underneath each one of those abbreviations I put either a B or an F, because I got to where I was remembering if I was dropping the stitch to the back, I was knitting it because I was going into the back. If I was dropping the stitch to the front, I was purling it because you're purling at the front. So that first one was either that knit or purl, and then the other one was the opposite. And with the 2 2s, it was always a knit. So I started putting just a B or an F right there, and I should have done that up here. I'm going to end up going back through when I make my other squares and doing that, because that made it a lot easier. When I was done with the square and I took it off, I had bound off, I had this like cone shape. It was so funny, but the square laid out fine. And like I said though, it took me, it was the most time consuming square I have done yet. It took a lot of time to do that one square. And as soon as I was done with it, I was ready to video for you guys. So I only just put it on the blockers. So it is all stretched on the blockers. Oh, here's how that yarn looks caked up. Isn't that pretty? So here is that square. And it is a beautiful square. I will not deny that. It is a beautiful square, but it is extremely time consuming. You can see though, it has blocked beautifully, size-wise, everything. It blocked exactly where I needed it to, 7 by 7, perfectly. So it's a well done block. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is a very time consuming. And if you're somebody like me who is not used to doing cables a lot, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. And if you have an issue with that and you are doing the knit patterns, if you really don't want to have to deal with the cables, then maybe pick like 4 different squares that you liked through the rest of the year. Or I say 4, I'm doing 4 squares for the size I'm doing, but whatever size you're doing, so however many knit blocks you're doing, pick one of each of the different patterns and just mix it in with that. Otherwise though, if you do it, it's a very beautiful square. And if you're wanting to learn to do cables, I mean, there you go, that's a way to do that. You've only got either 1 or 2 cable stitches you're holding off. So anyway, that is the knit square. It is a beautiful square, but there's time. So now the crochet block is Miss Linton by Rhonda Mall. And it says, this lovely square motif was designed to mimic Catherine Linton's life in Wuthering Heights. Just as her dramatic journey is full of highs and deep connections and lows with the challenges of society, this square is full of elegant clusters that echo the highs and lows of her tale. Again, a very beautiful square, and I will say an incredibly enjoyable square. I really liked doing this square. However, there is a but in this one. So just like every other one we've done, every square, if you're doing the knit, you're always using the same size needle every month. The only thing different this month was you needed a cable needle, which technically you can do it without, but I did use a cable needle. And every month for the crochet block, you're using the same size hook. And I always have I only had that 1 month that I had issues with my crochet block being kind of tight, which I ended up going back and adding a row or 2. But otherwise, every month my crochet blocks come out to size, no problem. They're supposed to be an 8.5 by an 8.5, and I don't have any issues. So I worked this one, and you get to, you're working back and forth. So you're changing directions on your rows. So you need to pay attention to that because you're working bobbles, and the bobbles need to be done from the back side. So you are working back and forth. And I did start making myself some notes just so that, just for my own benefit. Most people probably wouldn't need to, but they tell you how many stitches you have at the end, but for how I was mentally doing it, I was counting as I was doing my stitches, and I would be like, so on round 6, I knew as I was working it, I had my corner stitches, which were my add-ons, and then in that center piece, I had 15 stitches I was working. So I would count across 15. I might only do it on one side, maybe 2, but just to make sure, okay, I had my right stitch count. Little note, didn't have to do it. It was just something I did. But when you get to round 7, so you're all the way up to round 7, it says gauge check. Your square should measure 4 inches across. Okay, fine. I checked my gauge and I was at like 5 inches across. But I was also on round 7 out of 14, so I'm halfway through the square. I didn't really feel like pulling the whole thing back out. So, and I've never had an issue with it before. So I went ahead, I worked the whole square. And my square came out not 8.5, but 10. It is a 10-inch square. So I went down a hook size. And I did it again, and I now have an 8.5-inch square. So if I hold these two up together, you can see the size difference there? Let me grab my little board here. So can you see the So if you normally have your squares come out without any issues, when you do this month, I would suggest going a hook size down, so you don't have the same problem I did. And that being said, yep, there is our crochet block. You can see the little baubles on it. It's a really nice square. It was very simple. You actually are only doing baubles on 3 rounds, and everything else is single crochet and double crochet. So it's a really simple block, but it's really pretty. Even the back. I mean, I think also where you're flipping back and forth, it's creating a much more square block even before blocking it. Because I mean, I did not need to do much to block it at all. It was pretty much like that when I was done. So really nice square. So if you're doing the crochet one, then you got a good month. If you're doing the knit one, you got a challenging month. But just remember, if you're doing the crochet, you probably want to go down a hook size on this one. If you're doing the knit one, you're going to want time, patience, and maybe to make a few notes. But otherwise, we do have 2 beautiful blocks this month. As always. So our blanket is growing. This is our September box. So 3 more. We've got 3 more months to go before we can put everything together. So that'll be exciting. I can't wait to see how these actually all come together, but also need to get my booty in gear. My crochet one I need 2 blocks for the size I'm doing, and my knit one I need 4 blocks for. So up to this month, I have all my crochet blocks done, and I would have this month, except that the sizes are different. So I still have to, I'm gonna have to do one more of these, and then I still have, bare minimum, I have one knit block for every month right now, but I still do have a few I need to get caught up on my knit blocks. But that's amongst all the other, you know, things. So I need to get those caught up, but excited to see what our end project is going to be. So I hope you guys have been following along and enjoying this. Make sure if you do want to get their monthly box or just check them out, they have absolutely great stuff. I've bought other things from them. I've actually pre-ordered their Christmas Advent for this year, but there is a coupon code below that will get you 20% off. So make sure and grab the code before you head over to their website. And I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.